got my head out the sunroof. I'm blasting our favorite tunes. I only got one thing on my mind. You got me stuck on the thought of you. You're making me feel brand new. You're more than a sunshine in my eyes. I'm feeling like this might be my time to shine with you, with you, with you. I got my head out the sunroof. I'm blasting our favorite tunes.
Welcome to episode 3 of In the Middle and Out of the Box. I know we have a lot of new viewers this week, so I just wanted to go over a couple things so the newbies know what to do. The best way to watch this is actually on your smart TV, sitting on your couch in your living room, wherever you go for your Netflix or whatever. Basically, just go to the YouTube channel that's on your TV, and you can either say it in the middle and out of the box into your remote, or put it in the search box, and it'll come up. Think of it more like a weekly TV show. That's probably the best way to think about it. Because I have so many visuals and I put up so many slides, it's just really hard to see on a telephone. I know it might be more convenient that way, but if you really just want to actually see the true effect of the podcast, the best way to view it is on your smart TV, sitting on your comfy couch and just watching it that way. Each episode, Mondays, is with the day it drops. So by tomorrow, Sunday, we're filming this on a Sunday, it will drop by tomorrow, and you should have a new episode on Monday, so you'll be able to view that. Please email me your questions, your feedback. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback, a lot of topics that people would like to discuss. And my email is inthemiddlebdh, that's Boca Del Rey, Highland Beach, @gmail.com. So in the middle bdh@gmail.com. Please also make sure to hit the subscribe button on YouTube. And there's no subscription fee, there's no charge, but what it does is it shows you on your phone or your YouTube account when a new episode has dropped, and it just sends you a reminder so that you know a new episode has dropped. And also the other thing is, if you could please share this YouTube presentation, send it to your friends, send it to whoever, so that the more subscribers we get, the longer we can keep doing this. And I appreciate that. So far, it's been really positive feedback. Again, it's an ongoing process. Each episode we get a little bit better, hopefully. So just bear with us. The first episode and the second episode were totally different backgrounds, different formats. So again, we're just trying, it's a work in progress. So just bear with us. Okay, so I want to talk about today is Brightline. Brightline is having their opening in Boca for the Boca station. And it's a very exciting week because actually I was invited to the soft opening prior to the public opening. So next episode, episode 4, I will have hopefully a lot of pictures and videos and information for you. But I wanted to go over, there was some new recently released information and pictures that I want to show you today that I have, that I was given. So keep in mind that Brightline, though, I hear a lot of people talking about the cost. And yes, with inflation, we're all suffering right now. I get it. But Brightline was never designed as a discount commuter train. It's not a tri-rail. The whole idea behind Brightline is it's a high speed. It's for convenience. It's for the overall experience. There's full service on there. There's, you get to your destination within a very short time. Boca has a smaller station than West Palm or Miami or even Aventura because of the small amount of land that was available. So although it's going to hopefully have all of those services, it's going to be on a smaller scale, but they're still going to be there. But I would suggest, if you are on the train, I was thinking about this. I was like, wow, I can get on the train at 7 o'clock in the morning, get down to Miami. A museum opens 8:30, 9 o'clock, whatever. I get there within an hour, and I have, food, drink on the train. I get there, I can go to a museum. I can get back on the train and be back here by noon. I mean, it's a game changer for me, because to think about even going to the airport, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, the airports, they have the Brightline Plus, where they have the actual rides right there. If you reserve it as a Brightline Plus, within a 5-mile radius of the station, they take you for free. So there's a lot of advantages to Brightline, and there's a lot of services that come with Brightline that you don't necessarily get on Tri-Rail. And Brightline does offer a commuter pass for people that are using it for work. They also offer commuter garage pass for people that are parking in the garage. So again, I'll have more details when I go to the soft opening, but I just wanted to fill you guys in with some of the information I have right now. The premium cars come with full service food and beverage. They have larger seats. There's less seats in the train car. Everyone recommends it that I've talked to so far that's tested it. They said it's, very much worth the extra money to go in the premium. Even if you probably only do it once in a while, if you go down to Miami or Fort Lauderdale, it's definitely worth it to take the premium service, not only for the train car, but also for the lounge when you're in the station. Like I mentioned, Orlando is supposed to open early next year and then off to Tampa. Then they are going to have a stop, and I know there was a lot of controversy. Originally, it was going to be a Disney stop, but Universal said, hey, what about us? So now they're going to kind of do an in between Disney and Universal stop. So that pleases everybody. And then, like I said, I'll have more information next week. So it's going to be a very exciting week. For those of you that really are interested in going on a Brightline train, it's going to be fun. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'll come back to you next week with that information. Here is just real quick some information and pictures they just released. So here is a picture of the actual Boca station. And basically what this does, this picture shows you is when you pull in to the garage to the left and to the station to the right, there's a roundabout. And so this is a clear deviation station garage. They just released this picture, so I wanted to make sure you guys got a picture of that. Here's a clear shot of just the garage itself. And here's a clear shot of the station. The station is a little deceiving because it is very long. It goes down pretty far. You can kind of see the edge of it there. But it is on a smaller scale, like I mentioned. Here's one of the lounges. Now, I think this lounge is up in West Palm. Sorry for the picture quality, but they're very secretive of their lounges, so I was able to get this picture. But this is one of their lounges. I'm not sure if this is the premium lounge or the regular lounge, but this is kind of what their lounges look like. Okay, so for today's topic, I wanted to talk about EV stations in Boca and Delray. So city requirements for EV stations are very interesting because this is something that we really should be thinking about, both in Boca and Delray and Highland Beach. So as far as the zoning, the LDRs, and what's required. There's lots of building projects I think we spoke about in the last episode, Brentwood Village in Boca, and we have the parks in Delray Central and Delray, huge complexes, housing complexes, and right now we do not have in Delray any requirements as far as EVs, charging stations. It's really important to know the differences between what's required in Boca and Delray so that, again, we can, not for competition, but we can use each other as a template as far as rather than recreating the wheel. There's currently 14 automotive brands sold in the U.S. that have announced plans to go all electric by 2030, which is only 7 years away. That's not a lot of time. So this is something that cities have been working on for a while. For some reason, there's a lag here in South Florida. I'm not really sure why, but it's something that we really need to start paying attention to. And I'll give you an example. There's a condo complex called the Forte Condo Complex in West Palm. The city itself required each parking space when that was being built to be wired for EV charging, having it already there if it wants to be utilized. The complex, I'm not sure of the size of the complex, but I'm sure it's over 100 or whatever. And with that, 41 of the buyers wanted the actual charging stations installed when they bought their property in their condo complex. So there's a huge demand. The city of West Palm is actually requiring it that each spot be wired for EV parking. I know we don't have that in either Boca or Delray. Now, Boca is a little bit more advanced than Delray at this point as far as their charging stations. They have public charging stations at 107, which is pretty good. Obviously, needs more improvement there. This is not including any residential charging stations. This is public city charging stations. And they're level 2 and 3. So level 2 and 3 are going to be the ones that aren't going to be just, a cord that goes across. Like, it's going to actually be a charging station. It just depends. Level 2 is a real charging station, and level 3 is actually how fast it charges. So they're at 107. Boca also has a requirement in their city ordinance, which I was able to get a copy of, that requires 50 for every new project. 50 spaces have to have EV charging for a minimum of, I think it's 2% overall. Now, I know they were redoing that recently. They were looking at upping that. Some of the other cities that actually have the charging stations already in their city ordinances are already at 10, 20% of the parking spaces have to have EV chargers. They're way ahead of us down here. I'm talking about the Orlando area, even on the West Coast. So Boca has started. Now, they started this ordinance in 2017, so they are way ahead of Delray. Delray right now only has 15 charging stations. Again, these are city limits for Boca and Delray. So they have 15 charging stations. Obviously not enough, and something we really need to actually input into the LDRs and the zoning and the requirements that the city has for new developments. Again, looking at the parks in Delray Central, when you have 700 plus units being put in, I think with Delray Central it was 280 or something like that, 270. All those spots, or a majority of them, could have at least been wired for EV charging. Nothing was addressed at all about that. So we've got to start thinking a little bit ahead. Another part of this too is businesses. I mean, businesses have to step up too. There's a lot of businesses that are putting in their own charging stations as a incentive for customers to want to come to their store so they can charge while they're there. So again, it's an advantage to do that. I know that FP&L does have some grants. They also have a program with employers to co-spend for these charging stations to help with the costs. Now, as far as private residents and condos, had that major law that was just passed after Surfside. All condos are going to have to go through a huge and structural coring inspection, and then I think it's every 10 or 15 years, depending on where it's located after. But they're going to start off with this huge inspection that's required, I think, by the end of next year or beginning of next year. And what that's going to require is not only a threshold engineer inspection and coring and sampling, and underneath the condo has to be cored and sampled, because a lot of condos have been putting just, concrete restoration on the outside, but the structural integrity has not been really checked. So that's what they're doing. But part of that new law is also the electrical. A lot of these condos, the electrical panels, the electrical service to the condominium unit has never been upgraded in 50 years. So now everybody using all these appliances and everything else, the electrical also has to be upgraded. So just think about it this way. I know I've heard a lot of people say, well, our condominium decided not to put in chargers because we would have to upgrade our electrical system. Well, A, you're probably going to have to upgrade your electrical system anyway in order to pass this new inspection for condos. And B, they do have a law stating that if somebody wants a EV charger in their spot that they're willing to pay for, they're willing to put in themselves and make any changes and whatever, pay for all the expense to do that the condominium by law is not allowed to decline them to do that. So that's something that's going to happen more and more with condos, and it's something that the condominiums probably are going to just have to bite the bullet and upgrade the electrical service for. So that is really important to know, that law, that it does exist, that condominiums and HOAs cannot turn down a request for a electrical EV charger. I mentioned before that their FP&L is offering employer partnerships. There's also grants for cities. There's government incentives. I know that in Boca, I think FP&L put in, 20 chargers around the city. So again, these are all things that, everybody should be, again, rather than recreating the wheel, let's use a city that's actually getting involved in doing a lot of this. They've been doing this, like I said, since 2017. So Delray should kind of probably step up on this and try to get the EV charging situation at least written into their codes and their books so that there's some requirements for these new projects and so forth. So that was one of the things I wanted to talk about as far as Boca and Delray. They both have kind of like stepped in the pool a little bit. Boca a little bit more for a while more, have been a little bit more proactive, but it's something that they really need to turn up very quickly because 7 years is not a long time. If you really think about the amount of charging stations that are going to be needed, whether it's private residents, commercial properties, city properties, employees, businesses, and so forth. So okay, so I wanted to talk today. My out of the box idea is I've mentioned this a couple times on Delray Matters that Delray should really, maybe this year, Delray is probably the best place to have this because Boca really doesn't have that many public beaches per se. Um, Delray is probably the best because of the long beach and the public beach access. To have a Delray Beach July 4th drone show. And the reason I said this is because a lot of people are really starting to change as far as wanting they don't want it, they want it to be more environmentally friendly. It's very expensive to have these fireworks shows where everybody's trying to tighten their budget with inflation and so forth. And also, there's a lot of pets that are concerned and bothered by this, and it's just a more updated approach. A lot of cities are going to these drone shows, a lot. So again, it doesn't hurt for 1 year to try something new. So I kind of want to set the stage a little bit and get you in the mood for what I want to show you. So before I just show you what I want to show you. So I'm going to try to slowly kind of reel you in to kind of get an idea of what I'm thinking. Remember, it's an out of the box idea. So first, let's start with food trucks parked along the beach parking spaces, diagonally across from the area that's most commonly used. And, this would be a great idea. Now, I know when I had it in Delray Manors, a lot of people were like, well, the businesses, first of all, it's 1 day. I'm sure they'll survive 1 day. Second of all, a lot of people that go to food trucks or want to try food trucks are probably maybe not going to be trying food trucks. They might go to the restaurants instead and vice versa. So it's, again, for a couple hours on 1 day, it should be fine. But what a great idea to have food trucks right parking along the beach there with all the spaces that we have. And having people come up and order whatever foods they want, and just a wonderful day at the beach for July 4th and having food accessible and so forth. And I thought, just a great idea to have that. Yeah, I know there's ordinances against it, but for food trucks, but again, the city can do that for 1 day for a type of event or whatever. So this would be a good idea. The second thing I was thinking of is what a great idea to have Randy, hire Randy the kite guy. Randy gets hired a lot out by a lot of cities in the area to fly his kites. I know sometimes he does it on his own personal time and comes to Delray to fly. But why not have him come and actually hire him and have him do a bunch of kite flying all throughout the day, different kites and so forth. Just again, to just kind of get a very family oriented. So we've got food trucks. We've got Randy the kite guy flying all his beautiful kites during the day, maybe taking a break here and there, but then kind of just consistently all day long having the kites fly. So I wanted to first show you Randy the Kite Guy's video, which I thought, for those of you that are new or not really familiar with Randy the Kite Guy, here's a short video and I'll catch you on the way back. And then, this drone show, Pompano just had their first drone show. And from what I hear, it was a huge success. Drone shows are, again, brand new, relatively new. A lot of cities are doing them. They are set to music, which is great. So it's not just like you're watching a drone. So this was pretty interesting. This is also something that's part of drones, where you're actually putting drones within inside certain, I guess you want to call them large balloon type structures, and flying them around an area for an event. Again, this wouldn't have to be all day, maybe just right before the show or something. But again, what a neat concept to have these drones flying, above everybody and just kind of getting everybody excited for it. So we have video that I just described where the drones are basically inside and they're just flying around. So I'll take a look at this video and I'll catch you on the other side. So we have food trucks, Randy the Kite Man. We have drones flying ahead that are in giant whales and dolphins flying around. And then here, the culmination is our video of a drone show. So you have a better idea of what a real drone show looks like. This is a video clip. I'm not sure if this is the actual music that went with it, but I just want to make sure that you can actually see what a real drone show looks like. So here's the video clip, and I'll see you on the other side. So this again would be the culmination of the evening, and they would have the drone show start, and it would just again be something different, something updated, something new. So again, this is my out of the box idea. You can like it, not like it. I know change is hard for people. Again, 1 year doing this, just trying to give it a shot at it, see how it is. Other cities are doing it, so obviously there's something to it. And like I said, Pompano was a huge success. People loved it. So that's my out of the box idea today for the city. For today, it's Delray. Okay, so another thing that just happened really recently, which is really interesting, is there was a French-U.S. satellite that just was sent into orbit yesterday or today. And the interesting part of this satellite is something that's never been done before. This satellite's going to actually be able to monitor climate change as far as the water flow and where there's sea level rise, where there's not, and it's going to consistently be doing this over and over again and getting all that data. So the data is foolproof as far as where the problems are, where there's sea level rise, and where we should be looking strongly as far as mitigations for that. So I know a lot of people, are still questioning sea level rise. I'm sure one day we'll look back on this and they'll figure it out. But I just wanted to show you some pictures that I found. This was from 105 years ago in the Arctic. You can kind of see all those glaciers have melted. And again, where does that water go? Sea level rise. So I thought that was a pretty telling picture there. Regardless of why it's happening, again, this isn't a political show, so I'm not debating that. But the satellite is really important for Florida because Florida, as you know, is going through a lot of issues with king tides, with flooding. We have a water intrusion coming up through the ground. Our sea level water table is very high here. Another example I wanted to give because I know a lot of people are like, well, that's the Arctic. So here's something in Florida. This was the Florida Dome homes that were built in, I think, the late 50s, 60s. And they were on land when they were built. And the reason they were built this way was supposed to originally be for protecting for hurricanes. So they were built as these, huge concrete structures, and they were going to be fortified and so forth. The one problem they had is that they didn't anticipate climate change and sea level rise. So they might withstand hurricanes, but the sea's coming. So now they're out in the ocean, and I think as of the last hurricane, I think they actually collapsed and are no longer even visible anymore. They're just under the surface, and because they weren't taken care of and maintained and so forth. So they've kind of fallen on hard times, and now they're gone. But it's just amazing how something can start on land like that, and now is out in the ocean. And so these dome homes are very popular, or people know about them in Florida. They were off, I think, Fort Myers area. But anyway, so I just wanted to show that because the satellite is just huge. For those science and techie people, I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew that the satellite was sent off. And not only that, but they've focused their media attention and all their clips and so forth about the satellite with Florida just blaring right there. They're focusing on Florida. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Some of the new ideas and events that are happening right now in the area, we have Boca Ice. And Boca Ice is actually right on the border. It's northern Boca, southern Delray. It's north of Clintmore, off of Congress, all the way almost by the Congress exit, past Costco, just keep going north. And it's a great new indoor ice facility that has obviously the normal things, hockey, ice skating, and they have these bumper ice skating, or bumper cars that you go on the ice with. And it's like a fun activity, a family event. They have lasers on them, and you try to shoot and get people out and bump into people. And supposedly it's like the new thing. So I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that we have an indoor ice skating ring literally on our border in Delray and Boca. And it's something that both towns can enjoy. And it's something new and cool for the summer. So I just wanted to make sure everybody knew about that. There's also a new game that's kind of really taking off. It's called, because these drones are becoming so popular, it's called drone racing, where you basically take a drone and you're racing through all kinds of targets and so forth. And it's very competitive, and there's different leagues and racing. And we actually have a facility now down in Miami. So there you go, Brightline. You can take it down Brightline and get there in 45 minutes. And so I just thought you guys would enjoy just a clip of that to see what that's all about, since we were talking about drone racing, and this is drone show for July 4th. And drone racing is something brand new to kind of South Florida. So I want to make sure you guys knew about that too.
This is a winner-take-all scenario. Vanover's going for it. Making a move. Down! That is too close to call. No mistakes can be had here.
And then I'm going to leave you with today with artwork. last week, I think a lot of people didn't really understand. Artwork comes in different ways, right? So the first week we showed you this beautiful kinetic cube that was beautiful. The second week we showed you music, which is art also. And then this is a pool that somebody was drawing and using art in. And I just thought, this is such a great idea. What an out-of-the-box idea. I mean, that you can design your own liner and your own pool and have this beautiful underwater scenery in your pool. So I just wanted to share this clip with you, and I will leave you with that. And again, if there's any questions or feedback, please email me at inthemiddle, bdh@gmail.com. Please subscribe on YouTube and keep watching. We'll get better and better. Thanks so much for your time.